Welcome to True Crime, the untold stories, where we delve into the chilling realities behind unimaginable crimes. In today's episode, we travel to the quiet town of Pilot Point, Texas, in late August 2017. Beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful community lay a harrowing secret. The brutal murder of 18-year-old Courtney, a promising high school senior, unraveled a disturbing tale of deceit, manipulation, and corruption. Courtney was an 18-year-old high school senior from the small town of Pilot Point, Texas, home to just over 4,000 residents. She had made a name for herself through her vibrant social media presence, where she shared sensational and often embellished tales about people in her community. While some admired her boldness and humor, others saw her as a source of unnecessary conflict. Her online antics even caught the eye of Texas Tribune, which featured her as an example of how teens in rural Texas were using social media to gain attention. Though initially thrilled by the recognition, the spotlight also brought Courtney criticism and made her a subject of local gossip. Courtney lived with her father, Caleb, and her stepmother, Stacy, after losing her mother to lung cancer at the age of 12. Despite this loss, Courtney was determined to build a bright future. She often talked about leaving Pilot Point for Dallas, imagining a glamorous life working in public relations for high-end fashion brands like Chanel or Dior. Her friends described her as a mix of beauty and wit, though she often kept her struggles hidden beneath her confident exterior. Stacy, Courtney's stepmother, was notorious in the community for her drinking and frequent run-ins with the law. Their relationship was strained, as Stacy treated Courtney more like a competitor than a family member. Tragically, this tension took a sinister turn in the weeks leading up to Courtney's death. Stacy reportedly sold Courtney to Sheriff Devin Swinehart, a prominent local figure with a polished public image but a reputation for questionable behavior. Sheriff Swinehart, who had recently been dubbed Texas's Sexiest Sheriff, harbored a dark side, with rumors of illicit activities swirling around him for years. He allegedly kept women imprisoned in his home, treating them as part of a hidden and disturbing personal arrangement. How Stacy facilitated Courtney's involvement remains unclear, but financial transactions between her and Swinehart hinted at a deal. Courtney's friends began noticing alarming changes in her behavior. The once vibrant and outspoken teen withdrew from social media, a stark contrast to her previous online activity. Her TikTok account went silent, and she appeared distant and burdened. Late one night, Courtney confided in a friend via Snapchat, hinting that she was terrified and desperate to escape her situation. Her messages reflected the overwhelming fear and despair that had overtaken her once bright personality. Courtney's dream of breaking free from Pilot Point had turned into a desperate struggle for survival, her light extinguished by forces beyond her control. On the morning of August 24, 2017, around 6 a.m., a man named Levi Middlebrook, a resident of Pilot Point, Texas, stumbled upon a horrifying scene during his usual hike through a forested area near the outskirts of town. Middlebrook, a 29-year-old physical therapist known for his consistent early morning walks, had ventured about a mile away from the main road when he encountered an unusual metallic scent and an unsettling sight just off the path. Curious and uneasy, Middlebrook approached and discovered blood-streaked leaves scattered across the forest floor. His unease turned to shock as he spotted a lifeless body. The remains were severed at the torso, with evidence of a struggle evident in the surrounding area. Staggered by the gruesome discovery, Middlebrook immediately stepped back and dialed 911, his hands trembling as he tried to describe the scene. "It's terrible. There's blood everywhere," he told the dispatcher, his voice thick with panic. Within minutes, deputies from Denton County arrived, quickly securing the area and beginning their initial investigation. Middlebrook, visibly shaken and pacing nervously, remained nearby to provide information. Speaking to reporters later, he admitted the image of what he found continued to haunt him, adding, "I never thought something like this could happen in our quiet town." The victim was later identified as 18-year-old Courtney, a young woman well known in Pilot Point for her active and often controversial social media presence. Her phone, a device she was rarely seen without, was conspicuously missing from the scene, an absence investigators would later find critical to solving the case. The scene itself was deeply unsettling. Blood patterns on nearby trees and a broken necklace hinted at a violent confrontation. Drag marks leading from the trail to where Courtney's body was discovered suggested she had been moved post-mortem. Adding to the chilling nature of the discovery, investigators found a discarded chainsaw blade nearby, though the chainsaw itself was missing. Courtney's murder sent shockwaves through Pilot Point, a small town unaccustomed to such brutality. By the afternoon, the story dominated local news, and speculation about the killer began circulating among the community. What began as a tragic discovery would soon unravel into a dark investigation, exposing deeply buried secrets and implicating people close to the victim. On August 24, 2017, law enforcement officers in Denton County encountered a scene they would never forget. Veteran investigator Detective Miranda Dewling, with 20 years on the force, later recounted it as one of the most horrifying cases of her career. Standing beside her colleague, Detective Gabriel Serrano, she took in the devastating sight of 18-year-old Courtney Courtmeyer's remains, momentarily overwhelmed before launching into action. As they examined the secluded forest, an unsettling stillness hung in the air. Courtney's body had been gruesomely severed at the waist, with evidence of a fierce struggle surrounding the area. Blood splattered on nearby trees, snapped branches, and distinct drag marks painted a grim picture. Known for her precise approach, Detective Dewling couldn't shake the weight of the tragedy. "She was someone's child," Dewling remarked. "It became our mission to uncover the truth for her and her family." The cause of death was confirmed following an autopsy. Jagged, uneven lacerations on Courtney's body pointed to a chainsaw as the weapon used in the crime. A discarded chainsaw blade was discovered nearby and sent to a specialized laboratory in Dallas for analysis. Tests revealed traces of motor oil and fresh sawdust, along with blood that matched Courtney's DNA. Detectives Dewling and Serrano collaborated closely with forensic experts, ensuring that every shred of evidence was carefully documented and preserved. Among the items collected were Courtney's shattered necklace and soil samples tainted with blood. They traced drag marks back to a rugged dirt trail, but were unable to locate her missing cell phone, which officers suspected might hold critical clues. The savagery of the act weighed heavily on everyone involved. Detective Serrano confessed he couldn't sleep that night, haunted by the horrific scene. "This wasn't just a killing," he reflected. "It felt like a message, and we needed to uncover who was behind it and why." This harrowing crime scene became the catalyst for an exhaustive investigation, one that would eventually unearth shocking betrayals and chilling secrets hidden beneath the surface. Deputy Devin Swinehart, 41, had been a divisive figure in Denton County long before the death of Courtney Courtmeyer. Dubbed Texas's Sexiest Sheriff in a playful feature by the Texas Tribune in 2015, Swinehart initially basked in the adoration. With his chiseled features, striking gray eyes, and ever-present Stetson, he became a local sensation. His charisma was evident as he mingled at high school football games and led charity drives. Yet, beneath this polished exterior, troubling details began to emerge. In the conservative town of Pilot Point, Texas, Swinehart's single status at his age raised questions. Many found it peculiar that someone of his looks and stature had never settled down. Whispers in the community painted him as a notorious flirt, but others hinted at something more unsettling. The unease deepened in 2017 when leaked audio recordings revealed Swinehart boasting about what he called his private collective. In the recordings, he spoke of his insatiable desires, possibly alluding to fetishistic behavior, and bragged about maintaining relationships with multiple women confined to a hidden room. The tapes severely damaged his reputation and spurred allegations of impropriety. By the time detectives Miranda Dewling and Gabriel Serrano began probing him about Courtney's death, Swinehart was already enveloped in controversy. The investigators carried incriminating evidence. Bank statements linking Swinehart to financial transactions with Courtney's stepmother, Stacy Courtmeyer, and harrowing testimonies from women who accused him of coercion. The most appalling revelation was that Stacy had allegedly sold Courtney to Swinehart, who had kept her confined alongside 3 other women in his hidden basement. When approached by the detectives, Swinehart initially maintained his composed demeanor, greeting them with his characteristic Texan charm. However, as the questions intensified, his mask began to slip. "This is outrageous," he snapped, his tone laced with irritation. "I'm an officer of the law, not some damn criminal." But his confidence wavered when dueling presented the mounting evidence against him. The description of Swinehart's basement painted a chilling picture. A dimly lit, windowless space equipped with bunk beds, a small refrigerator, and locked cabinets stocked with chains, restraints, and other disturbing items. The women, aged between their 20s and 30s, described lives of strict control, with every aspect of their existence dictated by Swinehart, from their meals to their clothing. Courtney, the youngest, was described as reserved and emotionally distant. Swinehart's unease became apparent as he fidgeted with his phone and deflected direct questions about his connection to Courtney. When confronted about the money transfers to Stacy, Swinehart's defensiveness escalated. "I'm just helping folks out," he muttered, avoiding the investigator's gaze. To dueling in Serrano, this shift in tone only reinforced his culpability. By the end of the tense interview, Swinehart's once assured facade was in tatters, crumbling under the weight of the accusations. While the detectives had uncovered disturbing details, the true extent of Swinehart's role in Courtney's tragic demise remained a dark mystery yet to be fully unraveled. Stacy Courtmeyer, 42, had long been a source of hushed conversations in Denton County. Known for her struggles with alcohol, she was a fixture at neighborhood dive bars, where she often spent her nights drinking. Her reputation bore the weight of numerous public intoxication arrests, frequently spotted wandering the dimly lit streets of Pilot Point in a drunken haze. To locals, Stacy was a figure of misfortune, widowed at a young age, briefly remarried to a man who soon abandoned her, and largely estranged from her family, including her stepdaughter, Courtney. Yet, the discoveries surrounding Stacy shocked even the most seasoned investigators. Financial records revealed she had been receiving significant sums from Sheriff Devin Swinehart over the past year. These payments, totaling over $50,000, were deposited in suspicious increments. Digging deeper, authorities uncovered a horrifying truth. Stacy had handed over her stepdaughter, Courtney, to Swinehart in exchange for money. When detectives Dueling and Serrano visited Stacy's home in early August 2017, they found her in a familiar state, disheveled and defensive. The cramped, messy house reeked of stale alcohol, with a soap opera murmuring faintly from the television. Dressed in an oversized shirt and baggy sweatpants, she begrudgingly let them inside, her irritation evident. Sitting at her cluttered kitchen table, Stacy listened as the detectives outlined their findings. At first, she vehemently denied the accusations, her words slightly slurred. "You're out of your minds," she snapped, lighting a cigarette with shaky hands. "Devin's just a friend. He helps me out sometimes, that's all." However, when Dueling produced the bank statements, Stacy's confidence began to waver. She tried to explain the payments away, insisting they were for rent and necessities. But the detectives pressed harder, revealing testimony from one of the women held captive in Swinehart's basement, who confirmed Stacy had delivered Courtney to him. Tears streamed down Stacy's face as her defiance crumbled. "I didn't have a choice," she cried, her voice raw with desperation. "I couldn't afford to take care of her. She hated me anyway, always running off and causing trouble." She confessed to accepting the money, but claimed she hadn't known what Swinehart intended to do. Throughout the interrogation, Stacy swung between guilt, anger, and self-pity. "They're trying to make me out to be some kind of monster," she muttered bitterly, wiping her face with a crumpled tissue. Investigators, however, believe her actions were deliberate, driven by selfishness and desperation. By the end of the questioning, Stacy appeared broken, her complexion ashen and her demeanor defeated. She was arrested on charges of human trafficking and complicity in murder. News of her role in the horrific crime spread quickly, cementing her infamy in the community. Any hope of redemption was destroyed, leaving a town reeling from the betrayal of one of its own. While searching the basement of Sheriff Devin Swinehart's ranch home in August 2017, investigators uncovered a hidden smartphone concealed beneath a loose floorboard. This discovery marked a pivotal moment in the inquiry into Courtney Courtmeyer's untimely death. What initially appeared to be an unassuming storage area was revealed to be a sinister space. An underground enclave Swinehart had transformed into a living quarter where Courtney and 3 other women resided under his control. The device, an older phone with a cracked but operable screen, proved to hold incriminating evidence. It contained a trove of videos and photos documenting the bleak existence inside the basement. Among the footage were numerous scenes showing Courtney being subjected to both verbal and physical abuse by the other women. One series of videos stood out among the rest. It captured Abby Sue Gross, a 25-year-old who was also involved with Swinehart, attacking Courtney. In one especially harrowing clip, Abby Sue yanked Courtney's hair, slapped her repeatedly, and hurled insults, including, "You're nothing but a spoiled brat." Her face was contorted with rage as she delivered the blows. Additional recordings revealed other instances of torment, including shoving, choking, and forcing Courtney to clean under relentless verbal assaults. Abby Sue, known in the community for her abrasive demeanor and domineering nature, appeared to hold a position of authority among the women. Courtney, the youngest and most vulnerable, bore the brunt of their hostility. Detectives noted how the videos captured her fear and helplessness, with bruises often visible in the harsh lighting of the basement. She rarely made eye contact, keeping her gaze fixed downward. The phone also contained text messages exchanged between the women, which exposed a toxic dynamic of jealousy and manipulation. In one exchange, Abby Sue referred to Courtney as Swinehart's new toy and accused her of attempting to undermine the established order. These messages illustrated a household shaped by Sheriff Swinehart's warped control, where his lovers competed for his attention while lashing out at one another. The footage and messages provided essential evidence, shedding light on the abuse Courtney suffered and the oppressive environment that may have contributed to her tragic demise. The recordings became key to the case against Swinehart and his accomplices, offering a grim window into Courtney's final months. Investigators later described the phone as a portal into Courtney's nightmare, a haunting record of the cruelty she endured in silence. Before becoming entangled in the tragic circumstances surrounding Courtney Courtmeyer's death, Abby Sue Gross led a chaotic and tumultuous life. In the years preceding her association with Sheriff Devin Swinehart, Abby Sue worked as a server at a well-known adult entertainment club in Fort Worth, Texas. Renowned for her sharp tongue and fiery demeanor, she was a favorite among patrons, but frequently found herself at odds with co-workers and management. Several colleagues recounted instances where her temper flared, leading to conflicts that required intervention. On one occasion, she was temporarily suspended after a heated confrontation with a manager about her work schedule. Abby Sue's personal life mirrored the instability of her professional one. She had a history of turbulent relationships and was court-ordered to attend anger management classes following an altercation with a former partner. Friends described her as intensely loyal but prone to jealousy and manipulative behavior. It was during this period of upheaval that she met Sheriff Swinehart at a community fundraiser in 2016. Drawn to Swinehart's charm and prominent local status, Abby Sue quickly became part of his inner circle. Swinehart, known for his charisma and influence, persuaded Abby Sue to move into his home under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Once there, she found herself entrenched in his secretive and disturbing arrangement, joining a group of women confined to his basement. Abby Sue swiftly established herself as the dominant figure among the women, leveraging her assertive personality to exert control over the others. Her interactions with Courtney Courtmeyer were especially contentious. Courtney, younger and more vulnerable, often became the target of Abby Sue's aggression. Witnesses recounted how Abby Sue saw Courtney as a threat to her authority within Swinehart's twisted hierarchy. She frequently berated Courtney in front of the other women, calling her derogatory names like Little Princess and accusing her of vying for preferential treatment. A hidden smartphone discovered in the basement contained several incriminating videos showing Abby Sue both verbally and physically abusing Courtney. In one particularly disturbing video, she encouraged another woman to strike Courtney, saying she needs to know her place. Investigators noted that Abby Sue appeared to relish these power dynamics, escalating conflicts and coercing others into participating in the abuse. When interrogated by law enforcement, Abby Sue initially denied any involvement. However, the mounting evidence, videos and text messages implicating her in the mistreatment, forced her to confront the truth. Detectives described her as defensive and tearful, claiming she had been following Swinehart's rules. For Abby Sue, the investigation became a harsh reckoning. The evidence revealed her pivotal role in fostering the toxic environment that led to Courtney's tragic death. As the details emerged, it became undeniable that Abby Sue's actions were instrumental in the suffering endured by those trapped in Swinehart's basement. In a chilling twist, the inquiry into Courtney Courtemeyer's demise revealed the horrifying actions of Sheriff Devin Swinehart. By August 2017, as his re-election campaign loomed, Swinehart grew increasingly alarmed by Courtney's determination to escape his control and expose the secret life he had worked so hard to conceal. Fearing the collapse of his career and public image, Swinehart committed an atrocity that stunned even the most seasoned investigators. Evidence showed that Swinehart lured Courtney into a hidden section of his basement under the pretense of a private conversation. There, he brutally killed her using a chainsaw, cutting her body in half. Detectives surmised that Swinehart intended to dismember and dispose of her remains in a way that would sever any ties to him. However, his plans unraveled when Courtney's remains were discovered days later, igniting a media storm and widespread public outrage. A pivotal break in the case came with the discovery of a concealed smartphone in Swinehart's basement. The device contained incriminating text messages between him and women involved in his secret affairs, as well as chilling voice recordings where Swinehart expressed his fear that Courtney could destroy everything. Forensic analysis linked Swinehart to the crime scene, with Courtney's blood and tissue found on tools recovered from the basement. Further evidence surfaced in financial documents. Records showed Swinehart had made suspicious purchases, including the chainsaw used in the crime, shortly before Courtney's death. Additionally, GPS data from his phone placed him at the location during the estimated time of the murder. When confronted by law enforcement, Swinehart vehemently denied the accusations, claiming the charges were part of a politically motivated smear campaign. However, as investigators presented their overwhelming findings, cracks began to appear in his facade. Witnesses described him as defensive and increasingly agitated, insisting he was the victim of a conspiracy. Despite his protests, Swinehart was arrested and charged with Courtney's murder. The dramatic downfall of a man once celebrated as a charismatic community leader stunned the small Texas town he had governed. As he was led away in handcuffs, reporters captured his defiant glare, but insiders noted the unmistakable flicker of fear behind his bravado. The arrest sent shockwaves through the community, shattering the carefully curated image of the so-called Sexiest Sheriff. For many, reconciling his public persona with the horrors he inflicted was impossible. Yet for investigators, the evidence painted an unambiguous picture. Swinehart's desperation to protect his reputation and hold on to power led him to commit a horrifying crime, forever tarnishing his name and leaving a legacy of tragedy and betrayal. When former Sheriff Devin Swinehart stood trial in March 2018, his defense centered on portraying the charges as politically driven. His lawyer, Russ Wiggins, a prominent Dallas-based attorney, argued that the case was a politically motivated attack orchestrated by District Attorney Lillian McLean. McLean, known for tackling high-profile cases of corruption and abuse, was a Democrat, while Swinehart, a Republican facing re-election, claimed he was being targeted for his political stance. Swinehart's legal team highlighted his years of public service and local popularity, frequently referencing his 2015 title of Texas's Sexiest Sheriff, awarded by Texas Tribune magazine. Wiggins framed the prosecution as a partisan witch hunt, accusing McLean of using the case to tarnish Republicans in the conservative Texas county. Despite the defense's efforts, the evidence against Swinehart was insurmountable. Prosecutors, led by McLean and her assistant, Blanca Reynoso, methodically presented a compelling case. Forensic findings connected Swinehart to the murder of Courtney, including traces of her blood and GPS data. Disturbing footage from a hidden smartphone discovered in Swinehart's basement revealed the brutal conditions Courtney endured. Key witnesses further incriminated Swinehart. A woman from his basement harem, testifying under immunity, described Courtney's suffering and detailed Swinehart's role in her death. Financial documents and recorded communications revealed a man desperate to protect his secrets at any cost. After 7 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a unanimous guilty verdict on charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. On March 22, 2018, Judge Agnes Alves-Gilchrist sentenced Swinehart to life imprisonment without parole. The courtroom reacted with a mix of cheers and tears as the verdict was announced. Swinehart, once a revered figure in the community, sat expressionless as his fate was sealed. The conviction shook the community, forcing residents to reconcile the image of their once-admired sheriff with the dark truths revealed during the trial. While some of Swinehart's supporters clung to his claims of innocence, most viewed the verdict as overdue accountability for a man who abused his authority in unimaginable ways. For Courtney's family, the sentence brought a measure of justice, though the pain of her loss could never be erased. Hey, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like our content and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe. In the aftermath of Devin Swinehart's conviction, the disgraced former sheriff's downfall became a grim spectacle for the community. Once a beloved and magnetic figure, Swinehart was now a prisoner serving a life sentence without parole. The chilling details of his crimes dominated headlines, turning his name from a symbol of charm and authority into a byword for corruption and cruelty. He was sent to the James V Allred Unit, a high-security prison in Wichita Falls, where he would spend the rest of his days. The ripple effects of Swinehart's crimes extended to others entangled in the tragedy. Stacy Courtney, Courtney's stepmother, was exposed as a key accomplice in the horrifying events. Investigators uncovered that she had accepted large sums of money from Swinehart in exchange for selling her stepdaughter. Stacy faced charges of human trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, and abuse of a corpse. In February 2018, she pled guilty to all charges and received a 40-year prison sentence. The community, once familiar with her as a sociable regular at local bars, was stunned by the revelation of her betrayal. Her arrest, broadcast widely on local news, became a stark symbol of the case's dark depths. Abby Sue Gross, another figure implicated in the scandal, also faced severe consequences. Once a waitress at an adult club in Fort Worth known for her fiery personality, Abby Sue had become one of Swinehart's basement captives and his lover. Evidence from Swinehart's hidden smartphone captured her violent mistreatment of Courtney, including physical and emotional abuse. The harrowing footage played a critical role in her swift trial, which resulted in a 25-year prison sentence. For Courtney's grieving family, Abby Sue's punishment offered little solace, as the pain of what their daughter endured remained fresh. The case left an indelible mark on the small town of Pilot Point, Texas. Residents grappled with the shocking truth of what had been happening in their own community. The once pristine reputation of the sheriff's office was irreparably damaged. Local businesses, many of which had proudly displayed Swinehart's image in the past, quickly erased all traces of their former sheriff. Though the town began the slow process of healing, the haunting memories of Swinehart's actions and their fallout lingered, a reminder of the secrets that had shattered their sense of security and trust.